Amrita IAS Academy.
Good morning. I believe we have civil service aspirants and some parents. First of all, congratulations for deciding to seek to join the civil service of India. That itself is a major decision, right? That means a few things. That you have given serious thought to career options. You have considered various career options and you have decided that civil service is an attractive option. You may also have other fallback positions in case, because it's not everybody who takes the exam who will succeed. It's after all a competitive exam. So when it's a competitive exam, it's a question of numbers. You must be aware, I think these days about 700,000 people, 7 lakh people take the exam.
They say that registration is almost 10 lakhs.
10 lakhs. So there are 10 lakh people in India, youngsters like you, equally intelligent, equally hardworking, determined, who are preparing for the same exams, 10 lakhs. And how many are selected each year? You have just been selected, so less than 1,000 people are selected. So you can see the competition. There is no minimum pass mark. It's not a question of getting 35% or 50%. There's no pass mark. But you have to do better than the others. You have to be among the top 1,000 people out of 10 lakhs. That is your task. It's a big task. So it demands a lot from you. You will have to put in a lot of effort. And it's a process which is also psychologically taxing. It demands you to have a very strong mind. Apart from information, books, all kinds of things, you should have the spirit to go through this process. And it takes about 1 year from your prelims exam to the main exam and then the interview process or personality test. And then you are called for, I think, a medical test, after which they decide whether you have been chosen for the services or not. Now, as I said, everybody doesn't make it. There are many who are so determined that they will take a second attempt or a third attempt. Did you pass in your first attempt? Third attempt. Which means she has invested 3 years of her time after graduation or post-graduation to this process and she has succeeded. I know some youngsters who make it after the 6th attempt. There are lots of attempts possible these days. When I joined about 40 years ago, there were only 3 attempts possible. But now more attempts are possible. But that means you spend so much of your lifetime. Imagine spending 6 years trying to pass an exam. So, I always advise youngsters who are taking the civil service exam, good, please give your best. Give more than 1 attempt if you wish to do so. But don't imagine that it is the only career worthwhile in this world. There was a time when all parents wanted their children to be either doctors or engineers. It is not so anymore. The opportunities are so broad. You can do anything in life, and if you do it well, you can succeed. The spectrum is so large in terms of choices. So please keep in mind a fallback option so that you don't feel that civil service is the be-all and end-all of your life. If you don't make it, doesn't matter. I know some very successful people who could not pass the civil service exam, who are doing extremely well. The first name that comes to my mind is Dr. Shashi Tharoor. You know Shashi Tharoor? Very successful person, great writer, United Nations civil servant. He apparently did not pass the civil service exam. I can mention so many others who have done exceedingly well in life, but could not pass the civil service exam. So failing in the civil service exam is not the end of life. Okay? So take it in that spirit that you will do your best in preparing for this exam. If you make it, like our friend here, very good. It's an excellent career. Why is it? Now, let me ask you, let us make it a little more interactive. What made you think of civil service? Great. You can inspire him. Huh? Very good. Service to society. Anybody else? Yeah. You want to improve. Huh? So the society has to do better than it is, and you can play a role in that. Okay? Very good. Anybody else? Serve society. What makes you think that you can serve society better than some of your friends? Veterinary doctor. Okay.
So I came to know that so many poor people in this world because I have to make some of the village people in my internship time. So I think civil society is a better thing to do in my life.
Yeah, and you can do that by becoming a civil servant. You can impact society far more. You can also start a dairy farm and help society. Yeah. So you can make a bigger difference to larger number of people through the civil service than by running a dairy farm, which can provide you perhaps more money, more profitable activity. A dairy farm can be far more beneficial to you personally than joining the civil service. Very good. Please sit down. Anybody else? Young ladies at the back. For society, for the benefit of the society. Very good. You see, but you, please sit down. You realize something. Most of you will give the same answer. So 10 lakh people will give the same answer. If 10 lakh people are taking the exam and all of them want to say in the examination interview process, we want to serve society, that is a standard answer. You have to do better than that. That is what competitive exam is all about. I'm not trying to tell you what you should say, but your response has to be a little better than that of people around you. You have to stand out. You have to make that difference. It may be 0.5% difference, but that difference is what you should try to achieve through your preparation process. And that is what an institute like Amrita IAS can assist you in, because they have studied the whole process. They have helped so many people go through that process and succeed. So what should make you stand out? What should make you think out of the box compared to everybody else who will give a standard response? And that difference could help you in succeeding or not succeeding. So it's not a simple task. It's not enough if I study as hard as the other person. I should try to do that bit more. One very important aspect of preparing for civil service is that it is not enough if you start today. Today is already a little late. Your preparation, for instance, for general studies should have started in your high school days at least. You should have developed a habit of reading newspapers, following developments around you. And if you have not done that and are starting today, you are at a slight disadvantage. You have to catch up. Okay? So it's very important to be aware of what is happening around the world. Unfortunately, we have young people who don't subscribe to a newspaper. But that doesn't matter. Most of the newspapers are accessible on your mobile phone. I get up around 3:34 in the morning and I read several newspapers online on my mobile phone to know what's happening. So it's enough when you're all in the habit of, I'm sure everybody has a mobile phone and can access, be aware of what is happening in the world. And when you're reading a newspaper or even online, it's more important that you read the editorials as well. Not only know what happened today, but editorials. Because what are editorials? It's an analysis, a perspective about important issues of the day. So you can read the newspaper, what happened in Manipur. Okay? The news part is one. But then read the editorials of one or more papers and see what the editorial says. That's a commentary. And that is what will help you form your own ideas about the news part, your own interpretation. And that is a very important quality for doing well in the exams. One very important another preparatory procedure is something that you would have been taught in English classes in your school. It is called précis writing. Precis. S is silent. Précis writing. Have you all done that in school? Are you familiar with précis writing? What is précis writing? They give you 2 pages or 3 pages of material. You have to read through that and reduce it to 1 paragraph. All right? You are given material which is 3 pages long and you have to reduce it to a paragraph which is only a 1/4 page long. Which means you should be able to read, understand, absorb what is significant and what is not significant, and express it concisely and preferably in simple language, using simple words, not complicated words. This is a quality which is very important for your education and life and career in the civil service. What do you do in civil service? You listen to people, you read big files, and you have to understand the issue and reduce it to a concise form so that you make your noting or recommendation or write your report. Instead of producing the same 3 pages, you have to convey all that in a more precise, précis form. You'll be sitting in various meetings where, say, you're assisting a minister who has visitors. They will talk for an hour. But your reporting on that cannot be 1 hour long. It can be only 2 minutes or 3 minutes long. So you should be able to listen, to weed out what is not important and encapsulate what is important and express it either through speech or in writing. And this is very important. Other than the essay paper, the short answers that you have to write for civil service exam is actually an exercise in précis writing. So this is something that you must practice and will stay with you and will help you throughout your life, whatever job you may be doing in the civil service or outside. I would also say that you can today go to any number of institutes to prepare for the civil service exam. There are any number of private institutions. Even in this city, I think there must be dozens of them. But what will stand out about the Amrita Academy, and I hope that is the reason why you have chosen this academy, is that it infuses certain values to your life. And that is the most important need of society, of the country today. People who are not only ambitious, who want to serve society, but do so with certain values in life. And these values would be what make you behave in an ethical manner. You hear very often the public perception that bureaucrats are corrupt. And there are many corrupt bureaucrats, you know that. We come across such examples. Not everybody is corrupt. You cannot make a sweeping statement that all bureaucrats are corrupt. But apparently there are opportunities for corruption when you are a bureaucrat. And very often you succumb to it for various reasons. So it's important that you have a sense of value, of integrity, of morality in what you do. And that can distinguish you from being a good civil servant or a corrupt civil servant. Now, you may also be thinking about the services option, like you said, IPS. Is there anybody who is interested in joining the foreign service? No. Okay, fair enough. Who has revenue service as their first choice? Have they started making these choices yet? Not yet. Okay. You will have to make informed decisions about all this in future. Because once you join the service, you are assigned to a particular service. And that is linked to your choice. You have to indicate your order of preference. Right? Which service you would like to join. And every service would have its advantages and certain disadvantages. The standard procedure is to give first option as IAS. Indian Administrative Service is the best service in so many matters because it is the most important service in India. And it gives you tremendous power from a very young age, from the moment you step in, finish your probation, your basic training in Missouri and so on, and then you are sent to a place where you take such important decisions that affect the lives of large number of people. You will interpret government policy, you will help formulate government policy, and most importantly, implement government policy in whichever area you are working. And when you become a district collector, very important job, your responsibilities multiply, people turn to you for all kind of help, assistance, and you feel very important. One risk of this, especially for IAS and IPS as well, is that we feel that we are so important that it goes to our head. And our behavior changes. We forget that we have joined the service for service. And we imagine that the people have to serve us. You know? One very important thing, please keep this in mind, is that you should be accessible to the people. You are, after all, a government servant. You're not government boss. So your accessibility, this is what I have found lacking in many of our offices. A large number of officers, irrespective of which job they are doing, do not make themselves accessible. So then what happens? People cannot meet you, so they go to somebody else whom they can meet, particularly politicians, and ask them to recommend their case to you. Okay. So they go to their MLA and come with a letter or make a call to you to attend to their needs or grievances. And if that you discover that you have become that kind of an officer, where the public requires somebody else's intervention to meet you, to approach you, then I think you're already on the wrong path. Okay? It is important. You may be a busy person, yes, but you can provide time and institute mechanisms which allow people to access you. It's very important you cultivate that and put systems in place so that people can reach out to you. And this is something I have faced. I was ambassador in UAE. You know what is the population of UAE? About 10 million people. Okay, much smaller than Kerala. And out of the 10 million people, about 3 million are Indians. So when 3 million Indians are working there, they have all kinds of problems. And they turn to the embassy and the ambassador for help. Now, unless you have a system of being open and accessible 24/7, what will they do when they have a problem? When Umman Chandi was chief minister, they will all approach Umman Chandi. Okay? They will approach Shashi Tharoor. They will approach uncles and cousins with influence in government. And then they approach you. So my attempt was to prevent this circuitous way of reaching you and say that I am open to anybody. So we had a system in place that any Indian citizen could walk into the embassy during working hours and ask to meet an officer, any officer. And that would be done without any prior appointment. And if that officer could not attend to the problem, then he would escalate it to the ambassador. Some other embassies had a system of a monthly meeting where anybody could walk in. But I found that if you organize a monthly meeting, then more than the people who actually require your services, it is the media that is present. Then it becomes a tamasha. And people ask questions in order to impress the media rather than to address the problem at hand. So the point is, to be accessible is very important. Many of our officers, unfortunately, do not pay attention to it, but I wish more of that happens. And you, as youngsters who would be joining the service, should cultivate those habits from the very beginning. And you can be a wonderful officer if you are a modest person. Don't allow these tokens of power and prestige and so on go to your head. Try to be as helpful as possible to the people that you are dealing with in any capacity. And you will be able to serve the nation, serve the society, if you keep a few of those points in mind. So I think I've already taken a lot of time, but I am ready to take any questions that any of you may have on anything, any subject. Okay? On anything that you wish to know. Parents are also welcome to ask questions. Malayalathi choichalum madi. Malayalam korachokka ariyam. So, having lived outside for nearly 40 years, my Malayalam is rusty. But please feel free to ask any question relating to the preparations, the surveys, whether you have made a right choice or not. We are always making choices in life. What is important is if you can make informed choices. Your choices should not be random. Your choices should not be impulsive. Your choices should be informed choices. You should study the issue, understand the implications, and then make a choice. So informed choice is what will again make a difference in your life at every stage. Every day you have to make those choices. While preparing for the exam, you have to make those choices. After joining the services, you will have to make those choices. So please ask questions to make informed choices. Okay? Any questions? Yes, please.
Good morning, sir. Sir, I'm Amrita. As you already saw, most of us don't know much about IAS as a service, the opportunity that it provides us. So, can you highlight 2-3 points which can motivate us to think about IAS as a potential service option?
IFS used to be, long ago, one of the top choices of youngsters joining this service. There were many reasons for it. But over a period of time, it has lost a bit of luster because you can be in the IAS and travel abroad for official work or holidays and so on. So traveling abroad, living abroad is not exclusive preserve of the foreign service anymore. But what does foreign service career involve? Your job is to represent India. So you are sent abroad to a country. In each country you spend 2 to 3 years, an average posting. You work in an embassy or a high commission. They're both the same. In terms of functional aspects, an embassy is the same as the high commission. The embassy of a Commonwealth country in another Commonwealth country is called High Commission. That is the only difference. It's important to know that difference. So the designation, the same person, I was High Commissioner to Mauritius because Mauritius was a Commonwealth country, India is a Commonwealth country. But when I went to UAE, I was Ambassador of India to UAE. Same work, everything is same except the designation. Okay, what do you do in an embassy is that you promote India's relations with that country. When you do that, what do you keep in mind? India's national interest is supreme. So my job is to promote India's national interest in that country by having good relations with that country. What kind of good relations? Political relations. Your leadership and their leadership should become friends. And you should have understanding that you will help each other, back up each other in matters of international relations and matters relating to our interests. So diplomacy is all about promoting interests. So political relationship is important. Economic and commercial relations, trade. It's not just buying and selling goods. It could be providing access to your people for higher education, job opportunities, etc. So interaction, economic and commercial interaction and movement of people. If you are in the Indian Embassy in USA, you will be dealing with issues of visas for students, visas for employees, and so on. So economic relations. Cultural relations. Promoting India's culture abroad, having cultural exchanges, understanding their culture. Educational opportunities. Have you heard that now we are going to open an IIT campus in Abu Dhabi? Educational exchanges. Many African students from Africa come to study in India with scholarship from India. Cultural exchanges which will include scholarships, again bringing foreigners to study Bharatanatyam here, sending our teachers to teach music and dance and so on elsewhere. Defense cooperation, very significant. It may be procuring equipment for us, buying F-16 planes from USA. It may be buying Sukhois from Russia. You need, but if you don't have those things, you can't survive. So defense cooperation becomes important. So it's a variety of areas in which you develop cooperation with that country. There are two kinds, major kinds of diplomacy: bilateral and multilateral. Multilateral is organizations like United Nations. There are many other organizations which look after global interests. So you represent India in those organizations. You go there, you sit behind a board which says India. You speak, whatever you speak on behalf of the entire Indian population, promoting India's national interests. And you have to make friends. You have to understand the country in which you are working. You should know their history. You should know about their literature, their culture, people, customs, traditions. You have to invite them home and give them Indian food. They will invite you to their homes and give you their food. So you have to be a lot more flexible in how you interact with people of different cultures. You also need to have a strong stomach to eat all kinds of food which you're not used to here. Okay. If you go to China and they invite you for a meal, when they say meat, they mean pork. You go to Africa and they invite you for a meal, when they say meat, they mean beef. Our idea that mutton is meat is not universal. You may be a vegetarian and go abroad, then you will have to make it clear to your host what is meant by vegetarian. I've been in situations where they serve, say, fried rice. It will inevitably contain shrimps and egg. So if you tell them, okay, I'm a vegetarian, I don't eat shrimps and eggs, they'll say, no problem, I'll remove the shrimp. Will you eat that? No. If you go to Thailand and order a vegetarian fried rice, they will still use fish sauce instead of salt. Sauce made from fish. If you go to China and order a vegetarian meal, it is cooked not in vegetable oil, but lard. What is lard? Fat of pork. So food habits vary. So you have to be a little flexible or be very careful what you can eat. I was in Taiwan with a delegation of senior people from India, some of whom were vegetarian, and others were non-vegetarians. I knew that. So they served beef. Although many Indians are non-vegetarian, they don't eat beef. So they protested. They said, sorry, we don't eat beef. I said, why? So somebody said, we consider cow to be holy in India. They said, don't worry, these are Chinese cows. They're not holy cows. So what is your problem? We have a problem. Okay? Irrespective of the nationality of the cow, we have a problem. Problem is here. You should also have a strong liver if you are joining the foreign service. Because your social, official engagements, liquor will be served. Of course, you can choose not to touch liquor at all and toast. Now there are toasts to be made, little speeches to be made with a glass in hand with some wine or champagne. So you can use orange juice and toast. Some people do that. But your opportunity to drink liquor is plenty as part of your official work. You are expected to serve liquor in your house even if you are a teetotaler. Government gives you duty-free liquor to entertain your guests. Okay. So, it's a lifestyle which is different. There can never be a boring moment in the foreign service. Why? Because the environment in which you do the work changes every 2 to 3 years. You are in a new place, you are learning about cultures, you are picking up some language, you are seeing new places, you are dealing with new issues constantly. While in the IAS, it is more similar problems throughout your career. Whether you are in Andhra Pradesh or Telangana or Kerala or Kashmir, most of the issues, whether it be education or sanitation or whatever, are similar. While in the foreign service, you are dealing with very different circumstances. One. Another advantage of the foreign service, interference by Indian politicians is the least in the foreign service. If you are choosing IAS or IPS or most other domestic services, be prepared to deal with interference, good, bad, indifferent interference from our political leadership in your day-to-day work. They will make all kinds of demands on you. They will say, do this, do that, do it for my constituency. No, I am from Puzupalli. Puzupalli people should get all the benefits. Whatever, I'm just making a joke of that. But the pressures on you would be tremendous. And if you don't have tact and diplomacy to deal with these political leaders, you'll be in hot water. You'll be transferred from place to place, you'll be suspended, there'll be inquiries, there'll be vigilance procedure, and at least you'll have to hear all the foul language that they are used to using towards civil servants. I'm not discouraging you from joining the IAS. It's a very important service. But this is very much a factor. I know my own colleagues in the IAS who even retired as chief secretary and so on in Kerala, and their experiences. I was shielded from all that political interference because I was in the foreign service. And all my colleagues in the IAS went through all these negative political. The problem is that you work with one government, one regime. It was all right in the early years of independence. There were only Congress governments in state and center. One party ruling most of the country. That is not so anymore. So if you become a little close to a political leader with a particular ideology party, and when that changes after 5 years, you will be branded to be somebody aligned too much with a party, and there will be costs. You will be shunted to some unimportant jobs. Unless you are like a circus performer who can jump from one side to the other in our real situation here. So foreign service has its advantages, and the biggest advantage is the government looks after you very well. You are paid very good salaries in US dollars based on cost of living in each country. You are provided very fine houses, even as a young officer. And at senior levels, you will invariably get a very comfortable independent house with a swimming pool, a tennis court, a jacuzzi, sauna, and what have you. You have a lifestyle which IAS people cannot aspire to. If they develop, move into a house with a swimming pool, there will be an inquiry by Asianet next day. Swimming pool. Even Chief Minister of Kerala, Sri Karnagaran, wanted to build a swimming pool for his health reasons and had problems. But I have had swimming pools in my houses in outside India, not only in UAE and Mauritius and South Africa, Cambodia, and so on. Because that is the norm of diplomats. You live like diplomat. And then seniority doesn't matter so much in the foreign service. When you go for a meeting, even as a junior officer, second secretary or third secretary, you are speaking for India. The other person representing another country may be ambassador. Doesn't matter. You are equals. There's no senior, junior. You represent a country. So, but foreign service is another problem. When you think of foreign service, you think of only New York, Paris, London. But you forget that there are places like Kinshasa, okay, Phnom Penh, in Cambodia. I've lived in Cambodia. What was the situation when I was in Cambodia? There was a civil war on. There were mines, land mines everywhere. If you are not careful, you could step on a landmine and lose your leg. Or you could drive over an anti-tank mine and lose your life. Hospitals were non-existent. Nearest hospital were in Thailand. So if you fall sick, you have to be flown to Thailand for medical care. And there's only one flight a day from Cambodia to Thailand. So you have to fall sick before that flight or wait till the next day. There was no garbage disposal. We had to bury or burn our garbage. There was no water treatment plants. So we had to boil and filter our water. The markets had no electricity. So you could only buy live fish, live chicken, live goat. Because once it's slaughtered, they had no freezers or fridges to keep them. So they would slaughter it in front of you and you had to take it home and make sure you had standby generators and so on for running your fridge. And at night you had to be very careful because there were rival groups firing at each other in the streets. Security. India is a very safe place. Most parts of the world are not safe. I lived in South Africa where insecurity is very high, crime is very high, irrespective of who you are. And similarly in Zambia, where crime is very high. So if a thief came into the house and I called the police station and I said, there's an intruder in my house, the policeman will tell you, please shoot him, sir. I will come and collect the body of the thief tomorrow if there is petrol in my police jeep. Okay? So there are insecurities. You have to live with those insecurities. South Africa is like that too. You can be hijacked, you can be attacked anytime. So you can't even go out for a walk in the park or common space on the road. So when I came back to India on holidays, what I enjoyed most was to be able to go out for a walk. So yes, it's not all London, New York, and New York has got very unsafe places too. So security is a factor that you have to keep in mind. But the government again pays for the best education for your children. In international schools, they will pay more for your child's school fees than they pay you. Right? But for up to 2 children, everything is paid for. Medical facilities, again, the best hospitals, government will meet all costs. So it's comfortable life, except for the security problem in many countries. And the work is always interesting. If any of you want information more about foreign service, I think there's a plan to bring me more often to to this institution to provide some kind of motivation or guidance on foreign policy issues and foreign service as such. So if there are no further questions, I will wind up and just say that I am available for any of you to contact through Amrita for anything related to your preparations. I work somewhere else, but I'm here as a volunteer. So I will be happy to mentor any of you and provide answers to your questions. Thank you so much.
Amrita IAS Academy.